as we know, there is yet another transfer portal window that will be opening up as soon as April 16th. And Clemson has already had its first portal casualty. Dabo was asked about it during his post-game interview or his post-spring game interview, and said, yes, he wasn't here today. Basically, is what he said, and didn't elaborate any further. And then obviously the news hit that he would be entering the transfer portal. So, Jordan, your thoughts on our first portal deflection, if you will, in the 2025 spring portal season, we'll call it.
Yeah. Tavoy Fegan is a guy that I really liked coming out of high school. I thought he was one of the more under recruit. I mean, he was a 4-star recruit, but it felt like he didn't get a whole lot of love from the recruiting services towards the end of that cycle. But he's a guy I thought would come in, and honestly, I thought he would develop faster than he ended up. He had a lot of things that he needed to work on, not just like on the field, but off the field. And I think it contributed to, kind of a lack of, development from his time he got on campus. And I don't think he had a strong spring overall. And I think the writing was kind of on the wall. I think there was some maturity things that I think he needed he's going to have to go through. And it felt like this was something the staff felt like was coming.
Yeah.
So, I don't really have too many like comments on it. It's just something that seemed to be, especially going back probably at least a month, felt like this was something that was trending in this direction. So, best of luck to him. I think he's a really talented football player, but I think there were some things that he needed to be better at as far as accountability that he just wasn't meeting. And he decides that he's going to try and he's going to try his luck somewhere else, and we'll see how that goes for him. But
look, obviously it's never ideal when you have players that you highly recruited and that you really wanted to commit to your program, and you finally get them on campus. It's never ideal when they transfer. I mean, I get it. Some people out there are going to be like, there's always a section of the fan base that are like, we never needed this guy anyway, whatever, he can go wherever. I mean, I don't think that's the case. Obviously, it didn't work out with Tavoy Fegan for whatever reason. Obviously, I think there were some behind-the-scenes issues not related to football that contributed to this, most likely. But, he redshirted last season. He only appeared in 2 games. I think he had 11 total snaps over his one and only season as a Clemson Tiger. It's unfortunate that it didn't work out, because much like you, I thought he was going to be a really good player for Clemson. I thought he was going to develop into a really nice defensive back for us, and it just wasn't in the cards. It didn't work out, and you just wish the young man well. You hope that he kind of matures a little bit, and when he gets to wherever he lands, I wish him the best, and I hope he has all the success. Again, no hard feelings. Obviously, I would have rathered him stay at Clemson and develop and become one of our key pieces down the road, but that's not going to happen. So wish him the best, and you kind of move on.
Yeah, 100%. And you mentioned, like, we like to think that when Clemson lands, these kids out of high school, like they come in, like they just all have it figured out. That's never been the case. No. You do get those guys that have come in and they carry themselves like adults already. But
right.
These are 17, 18-year-olds living on their own for the first time, and also being exposed to a lot of things as athletes that even the average student isn't normally exposed to.
Right.
And I think, that's it's natural. Even at Clemson, where they pride themselves on accountability and stuff, still happens. So, I think that definitely played a part. But you've had guys that came in and had to mature a little bit before they really got going. We've had multiple corners like that. Nate Wiggins, Andrew Booth was like that. Mario Goodrich. Like, it's not. This is not anything new.
No,
but just in the age of the transfer portal, you don't have. There's less guardrails and there's more incentive for the kids not to try and stick it out. And so that's just kind of the reality of the situation.
Yeah, I mean, look, Clemson's had tons of these players that have taken the road less traveled, right? Like the tough road, and then kind of had to grow up a little bit and get put in the Sweeney doghouse and do their punishments and do their extra work that's required of them, and eventually it clicks and they get it, and they turn into great players at Clemson. But as you mentioned, in the transfer portal world that we currently live in, it's easy to just kind of throw your hands up and walk away and be like, I'm gonna go try somewhere else, right? And I think a lot of fans sometimes are a bit too harsh on some of these student athletes with all the stuff that you mentioned, the things that have thrown at them. First time living away from home, a lot of them the first time having real money. And you can make some poor choices when you're a young person and you get thrown into that sort of environment. It's not easy. And any of us adults who sit back and kind of judge, we don't know how we would have acted if we had access to all that kind of stuff at 17, 18 years old. Probably wouldn't have made.
I would have been acting a fool.
Probably wouldn't have made very good decisions. So, I don't ever fault these guys. They'll live and learn. They'll grow up. They'll mature. They'll become better because you learn from making mistakes, and everybody does that. So, again, wish Tavoy Fegan the best, and I'm sure he will do great wherever he lands. He is a very talented cornerback, and he will. I do think he will have success. So wish him the best. Now, talking about the transfer portal, it officially opens up on the 16th, Jordan. Should Clemson fans expect any more transfer portal entries from this current roster as it sits?
Yeah, I don't think you can rule it out. There have certainly been, as good of a spring as I think it was for this team. That it wasn't without the players that struggled, and Tavoy Fegan was one of them. I certainly haven't heard positive things about a couple of other guys. Don't necessarily know that means they're entering the portal, but it's just something to keep an eye out on. I won't drop names for now because that's just it's not appropriate to. Right. But that's kind of the situation, and so I don't expect any major contributors, that's for sure. I mean, I think the group, the core of this team is locked in, and I mean a lot of the guys, a lot of your depth is locked in, but can't rule out the couple of guys that are especially the ones that are younger and haven't been in the program as long. Yeah, you can't rule it out. So I don't have anything for sure. So I can't guarantee that you lose another person, but will not shock me.
I mean, obviously this is the name of the game. Exiting spring, everyone knows where they sit currently on the depth chart, right? Everybody knows roughly what their playing time would look like if there were to be a game played today. And each individual player is going to have to make a decision that they feel is best for them. And will that result in some transfers from this current Clemson roster outside of Tavoy Fegan? Probably. It certainly it'll be more if nobody transfers than if we have a couple more transfer, right? It's just kind of the name of the game. It's the nature of the college football that we currently live in. And, you hope that you don't lose any big pieces, right? And if you do, well, you go to the portal and you try to fill those pieces, because there is no high school recruiting right now. You can't just grab somebody from high school and put them on your roster to replace somebody. So, if you lose too many people, or, you lose a big enough piece, you got to go in the portal and address it. So, again, that'll develop over the next couple weeks. And I don't foresee there being any sort of mass exodus from Clemson. That's kind of never been the case. Clemson's probably, if not the best, one of the best programs when it comes to retention of their roster. So I don't suspect for Clemson to lose any major pieces or a lot of pieces, for that matter. So I think we'll be okay. And again, wish Tavoy Fegan the best, and hopefully he is the only transfer from this roster, because as Dabo Sweeney said, and the coaching staff has said, during spring and now exiting spring, they are very happy with this roster. Not that it's ready to go today, but they feel like they're in a good place, and that guys are going to make the steps needed over the summer and in fall camp, and they will be ready to rock and roll with this group as it stands. So here's to hoping that we don't lose too many pieces.
Yep. Here's to hoping. You never rule anything out. And, I always – but, a lot of the guys, like, really, at this point, it's, for in a lot of cases, like, okay, if you were going to leave, you had the opportunity before. But
right.
So, like, I don't expect – I'm not expecting any, significant moves. You might have a guy here or there, but I don't expect a large attrition number.
Yeah.
Who knows? I end up putting my foot in my mouth, but
yeah, I don't expect,
wood, but
it would surprise me if there was a large amount of transfers. It would surprise me. So I don't think that's happening. Do you guys think Dabo will try to get a corner in the portal? No, I don't.
It doesn't seem like that. That's
the potential of the house settlement and going down to 105. There's already a lot of players that are currently that were practicing in spring practice that will not be on the team when they have to cut down to 105. So I don't foresee Dabo going into the transfer portal unless we lose, a few more people. And that'll obviously depend on which position group it is, who it is, what kind of hole that leaves on the roster. So a lot of big ifs there. The only thing that I could potentially see him going into the portal for is a punter, like I said before. I wouldn't mind him doing that, but I don't think he will try to replace Tavoy Fegan via the transfer portal in this cycle.
And what my conspiracy theory is, and I was talking about it with a couple other Clemson guys. I really feel like the answer is just going to move Tink Kelly to corner full time and just call it a day.
Yeah,
he's already been repping a corner all spring, basically.
Right. Yeah, he spent all spring at corner, so there you go. And who's to know that didn't influence Tavoy Fegan's decision? I don't know. I don't know how well Tink Kelly looked over there or developed over there, and again, you never know. We're not privy to those kind of depth chart things or conversations that they have with the coaches. So there could be a lot of things that influence a decision like this.